A violent storm sends blind cellist Claire Bennett into one of Chicago's most exclusive hotels, where one wrong step places her in the arms of Adrian Vale, the feared Mafia king no one dares to approach. When armed men surround her, and Adrian whispers two unexpected words, Claire is pulled into a hidden world of old debts, dangerous secrets, and a war that has waited years to find her. But Chicago's underworld has underestimated the wrong woman. As trust turns fragile and music begins to reveal more than emotion, Claire must decide whether Adrian is her safest refuge or the greatest threat to the life she fought to rebuild. Their choices could ignite the city, expose a buried legacy, and change the balance of power forever. Watch the story to the end and tell us when you first realized Claire was more than she seemed. The armored doors closed around Claire with a heavy final sound, sealing away the storm, the hotel, and every ordinary choice she had made that night. Rain struck the windows in soft bursts as the vehicle moved into traffic. The city outside became distant, reduced to muted horns, tires cutting through water and the low vibration of the engine beneath her feet. Claire sat with her back against the leather seat. Adrian Vale faced her from across the narrow space. Mason Reed occupied the front passenger seat, speaking quietly into an earpiece. Claire could feel Adrian watching her, not casually, not politely, but with the fixed attention of a man studying something he had once believed lost. Her cello rested beside her. Her cane lay across her knees. She placed 2 fingers against the door. Reinforced steel. The window beside her gave no response when she pressed the control. Locked. "You can stop testing the car," Adrian said. Claire turned toward his voice. "You can stop pretending this is voluntary. You got in. After you told me armed men were inside my apartment. They were. That does not make this voluntary." The smallest pause followed. "No," Adrian said. "It does not." Claire shifted her hand to the strap of her cello case. The vehicle turned left, then right. It accelerated for 6 seconds before slowing again. She counted silently. Adrian noticed. "You do not need to memorize the route. People say that when they do not want me to know where I am going." From the front seat, Mason let out a quiet breath that might have been amusement. Adrian did not. "You are heading north," he said. "Toward the Gold Coast. That is not an address. You will have one when we arrive. I would prefer it before we arrive. You always did ask difficult questions." The words settled between them. Claire's fingers stopped against the cello strap. "You keep speaking as if you knew me. I knew of you. That is not better." "No," Adrian said. "It probably is not." She turned her face toward the window. The glass was cool against the side of her hand. "When did you first see me?" Adrian was silent long enough for the answer to become its own presence. 13 years ago. Claire's chest tightened. 13 years ago, she said. I was 13. "I know. That was the year of the crash." Mason looked back. Claire heard the leather of his seat creak. Adrian spoke before he could. "Yes." The vehicle rolled over a seam in the street. The cello case shifted against Claire's hip. She steadied it with one hand. "My father died in that crash. I know. I lost my sight. I know. And somehow the man who controls half the criminals in Chicago was there." Adrian's voice lowered. "I arrived 11 minutes after the car went through the barrier." Claire felt the air leave her lungs, not because he knew, because of the precision. 11 minutes, she repeated. "Yes. You remember the exact number. I remember every minute I was too late." The engine hummed beneath the silence. The crash returned in fragments of sound and pressure. Her father's hand across her chest. Metal tearing, glass bursting inward, his breath turning shallow beside her. She forced the memory down. The police said a truck lost control on the ice. The police report was written before the ambulance reached you. Claire turned toward him. "What are you saying?" "I am saying the crash was not an accident." Mason shifted again, but Adrian continued. "Your father was being followed from the moment he left his office. A truck forced him toward the barrier. He turned the car at the last second, so his side took the impact." Claire gripped the edge of the seat. "No. Claire. No." Her voice rose hard enough to cut through the sealed car. "My father was a financial consultant. He handled taxes for small businesses. He complained about copier paper. He fell asleep during baseball games. He did not have enemies." Adrian leaned forward. She heard the fabric of his suit tighten across his shoulders. "Samuel Bennett handled money for men who could not afford to leave records." Claire's fingernails pressed into her palm. "You are lying. I wish I were." She reached for the door handle and pulled. "Nothing happened. Open it. We are moving. You drag me out of a hotel, then decide you have the right to rewrite my father's life. I am not rewriting it. You are turning him into one of you. He was never one of us." The certainty in his voice stopped her. "Samuel built shell companies' offshore accounts, false invoices, and city contracts. He could move millions without leaving a trail. He hated dishonesty. He hated cruelty more. He believed controlling the money could limit the bloodshed. Did it know? The honesty hurt more than denial would have. Samuel discovered Victor Crow was stealing from both organizations. Crow had been moving money through city contracts, paying officers, judges, union men. He was building a war while making both sides believe the other had started it. Claire listened despite herself. Why would my father care? Because Crow used Samuel's system to hide it, and Samuel found out. Yes, what did he do? He copied everything. The storm seemed farther away now. Claire thought of her father locking his home office at night. She remembered pages of music spread across the piano, his pencil tapping in groups of 4. What kind of records, account numbers, payment chains, names, and proof of murder, enough to destroy Crow and damage my family. You said Crow's men were searching my apartment. They believe Samuel left the records with you. I was 13. They do not care. I do not have a ledger. That is what Crow wants to know. And you, I want you alive. That was not my question. If the records exist, I want every name connected to Crow, so you can kill them. So I can end the war he started. In your world, those sound like the same thing. They often are. Claire leaned back. The coat around her shoulders still carried his warmth. She hated that she noticed. What happened the night of the crash? Adrian drew a slow breath. Samuel called me. The answer was barely above the engine. He said Crow had found him. He said he had moved you out of the house and was taking you north. Why call you? My father had ordered everyone to stay out of it. Samuel knew I might disobey. Might. Adrian's voice hardened against himself. I was 21. I had spent my life being trained to obey one man. Samuel asked me to choose between my father's command and his life. Claire waited. I chose too slowly. The pain in his voice was controlled, but not hidden. How slowly? 7 minutes. Claire's throat tightened. 7. Yes. My father died while you were deciding. Yes. No excuse followed. No argument. Only the sound of rain moving across armored glass. You said you arrived 11 minutes after the crash. I found the car below the barrier. The driver's side was crushed. Samuel was still alive. Claire stopped moving. What did he say? Adrian's answer came reluctantly. He asked if you were breathing. Claire's hand closed around the edge of her seat. And I told him yes. The memory she had kept locked for 13 years opened without permission, her father's hand searching across broken glass, his fingers finding hers. A man's voice outside the car, young and furious, ordering someone to call an ambulance. She had forgotten that voice, or believed she had. "You were there," she whispered. "Yes." "You held my hand." Adrian did not move. The paramedics needed both sides of the car clear. "You would not release Samuel, so I held your hand." Claire's heart beat once hard. She remembered a thumb pressing against her wrist, a voice telling her to keep breathing, a promise made close to her ear. "You are not alone." She pulled Adrian's coat tighter without meaning to. "What did my father say after that?" "He made me promise Crow would never find you." "And you agreed." "I gave him my word. So, that is what I am." A promise. At first. Claire turned toward him. And later, Adrian did not answer. Something in his silence unsettled her more than the guns had. "How did you keep Crow from finding me?" "I changed the records around you. School files, medical records, anything Crow could trace." Claire thought of the scholarship after her conservatory audition and the foundation that paid for specialists when insurance refused. "The Mercer Arts grant," she said. "Mine. The surgery in Baltimore. Mine. The driver outside late rehearsals. One of mine. The man seated behind me at the winter concerts." Adrian hesitated. "Usually me." Claire stared toward his voice. "You attended my concerts?" "Yes." "Did you enter my apartment?" "Never." "Listen to my calls?" "No." "Follow people I dated?" A pause answered for him. "Protection without permission is surveillance. Permission would have exposed you. You should have trusted me." "You were 13. I am 26 now." "Yes." "And you kept watching." "Yes." The word carried no shame. That made it worse. "What does Crow think I have? A physical ledger?" Samuel used one in the early years before he moved everything into encrypted systems. I never saw it. "Did he give you anything unusual before the crash?" "Numb." The lie came smoothly but not perfectly. Claire's thumb tapped against the cane handle. 4 beats. A pause. 4 more. Adrian heard it. She could tell by the way his breathing changed. What she asked? Nothing. "You noticed something." "I notice most things." "So do I." For the first time, a trace of genuine amusement entered his voice. "Yes, you do." Claire forced her thumb still. Her father had given her something before the crash. Not a book. A composition. Winter Nocturne. He had made her memorize it measure by measure, correcting each note with unusual intensity. At 13, she had thought he was preparing her for an audition. After the crash, the melody had become the last intact piece of him. She had never told anyone. Not the police. Not the doctors. Not the men she occasionally sensed following at a careful distance. Especially not them. "What did Samuel say about music?" Adrian asked. Claire's shoulders tightened. "Why, there was sheet music in the car. The folder had his initials. He wrote exercises for me. Samuel told me he could not read music. Then he lied to both of us." The vehicle turned downward. The sound changed as concrete walls closed around them. A garage. Claire counted the echo. Large space, low ceiling. At least 4 vehicles nearby. A steel gate descended behind them with a mechanical groan. The SUV stopped. Mason exited first. Adrian opened Claire's door. "Where are we beneath my residence?" "Address." He gave it to her. She recognized the Gold Coast street. Claire reached for her cello. Adrian placed the handle into her hand without argument. She stepped from the SUV. Her cane found smooth concrete. A door opened ahead. A scanner gave 3 soft tones. Palm recognition, she said. Yes. A second tone followed. Voice confirmation. Yes. Then the quiet click of a rotating lock. How many security doors stand between this garage and the Street 7? How many can I open? None tonight. Claire stopped. Adrian's shoes halted beside her. Then this is not a safe house. It is the safest building in Chicago. That was not what I said. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Claire stepped inside but did not turn around. It is a prison. Adrian entered after her. It is a place Crow cannot reach. Every man who builds a cage believes that. The doors closed. The elevator rose so smoothly that only the pressure in Claire's ears revealed the speed. Mason spoke quietly. They found 4 Crow men in her apartment. 1 is alive. Take him to the south facility, Adrian said. Claire's head turned. What happens there? Neither man answered. Adrian told her the intruders had broken open the piano bench and torn up the floorboards. The building manager had tried to stop them and suffered a fractured wrist. Mr. Ellis, he is at Northwestern Memorial. I will make sure he is safe. You cannot purchase forgiveness every time your world hurts someone. I know. The doors opened into silence. Warm air touched Claire's face. She smelled cedar stone coffee and white tea. Her cane crossed polished marble, then thick wool. This is the main living room, Adrian said. How many exits? 3. Guards 2 inside tonight. More below. Cameras. Common rooms only. My bedroom number audio. No. He guided her through the penthouse without touching her unless she reached for him. The guest room stood down a short hall. It contained a private bathroom, a sitting area, and a locked balcony. Locked from which side, she asked. Both. Of course. Claire moved back toward the bed. Her cane struck the corner of a low bench. She mapped it with 2 careful sweeps. Mason stood in the doorway. We need to inspect the cane. No. It could contain electronics. He stepped closer. Claire raised it until the tip pointed toward his chest. You have 6 inches before this becomes embarrassing. Adrian spoke from the hall. She keeps it. Mason stopped. You 2 have known each other less than an hour, and she already sounds like you. I doubt that was a compliment, Claire said. It was not. Adrian placed a secure phone on the bedside table. It has my number, Mason's, and the security desk. I wanted the truth. You are getting pieces of it. I do not accept pieces. There are things I need to confirm. About my father. Yes, about me. Adrian did not answer. Claire heard the truth anyway. She removed his coat and held it out. He took it carefully. The warmth left her shoulders. Claire, what if you remember anything about Samuel's records? Tell me before Crow finds another way inside your life. She turned away. I told you. I never saw a ledger. Her thumb tapped once against the cane, then stopped. Adrian remained in the doorway for several seconds. I will be outside. I did not ask you to be. No. His steps moved down the hall. The door stayed open. Claire crossed the room and closed it herself. The latch clicked. For the first time since entering the hotel, she was alone. She waited until the air system and distant traffic were the only sounds. Claire placed the cello case on the bed and opened it. Beneath the velvet lining, her fingers found a hidden seam. A single page rested inside. Raised musical notation covered the paper. Winter Nocturne. Samuel Bennett's unfinished composition. She traced the opening measure with one fingertip. 4 notes. A rest. 4 more. The same rhythm her thumb had tapped in the car. Her father's voice returned from years ago. Do not just play the notes, Claire. Remember where they lead. She had spent 13 years wondering whether the warning had been fear grief or something more. Now armed men had torn apart her home. A Mafia king had spoken her name like a confession, and Victor Crow had finally stepped out of the shadows. Claire folded the page and returned it beneath the lining. Then she crossed to the bedroom door and opened it. Adrian stood at the far end of the hall, speaking quietly with Mason. He stopped when he heard her. Claire rested both hands on the top of her cane. "You said Crow believes my father left something with me." "Yes." "Then I want to know everything Samuel Bennett did for your family." Adrian faced her fully. "That answer may change how you remember him. My memories already changed the moment you said the crash was murder." He walked toward her, stopping at a respectful distance. "All right. No half-truths. No. No decisions made for me." His jaw tightened. "I can promise honesty. That was not the whole request." "No," he said. "It was not." Claire opened the door wider. "Start with the first account my father ever built for the Vale family." Adrian entered the room. Behind him, Mason quietly closed the hall doors and the penthouse settled into a deeper silence. By the time the storm began to weaken over Lake Michigan, Claire had learned the first names in her father's hidden world. By morning, she had also begun counting every step between the guest room and the elevator. By morning, Claire had learned 23 steps separated the guest room from the living room. 14 more led to the private elevator. 9 carried her from the center of the living room to the black grand piano near the windows. The penthouse did not reveal itself all at once. It spoke in fragments. Air moved differently near the glass walls. Sound softened over the thick rugs and sharpened above the marble floors. The kitchen carried the steady hum of refrigeration units and the quiet pulse of an espresso machine. The library smelled of leather dust and the faint cedar oil used on the shelves. Claire crossed each room slowly, using her cane in deliberate arcs. Anyone watching would have seen a blind woman learning an unfamiliar home. Claire was doing more than that. She was measuring it. The eastern hallway contained 3 doors. One led to Adrian's bedroom. One opened into his office. The third remained locked. The elevator required a palm scan from inside the penthouse, but the doors produced a second mechanical click before opening. An independent locking system. 2 guards changed positions every 4 hours. One had a slight drag in his left foot. The other breathed through his mouth and checked his phone whenever he thought no one could hear. Mason Reed arrived at 6:30 every morning. He drank his coffee without sugar and never sat with his back to a door. Ethan Cole came later. He wore peppermint gum to hide the smell of cigarettes. His right knee clicked when he turned too quickly. Claire stored every detail. On her second trip through the living room, she found Adrian standing beside the windows. "You are awake early," he said. "So are you." "I have been awake. Since when yesterday?" Claire stopped near the piano. "That is not impressive. I did not say it was." She heard paper shift in his hand. "You are working?" "Yes, on my father's accounts. On Crow." "Those are not the same thing. They overlap." Claire rested one hand on the piano. During the night, Adrian had explained how Samuel Bennett first entered the Vale organization. Samuel had found an error in a construction company's financial report and traced it to a network of false suppliers. Instead of reporting it, he had approached Adrian's father and demanded a meeting. Samuel had not asked for money. He had asked for protection. A client of his had borrowed from Victor Crow and disappeared. Crow's men blamed Samuel for hiding the client's assets. Adrian's father protected him in exchange for his skills. One arrangement became another. Within 5 years, Samuel controlled the movement of nearly every hidden dollar connected to the Vale family. Claire had listened until dawn. She had not forgiven the lies. She had not decided whether she believed all of Adrian's truths. "Did you sleep?" Adrian asked. "For an hour. You should rest. You should stop giving orders." His papers went still. "I was making a suggestion." It sounded practiced. "I have been told I have a tone." "You have several." Claire moved toward the piano bench and sat. Her fingers found the edge of the keys. Which one am I hearing now? The one attempting patience, attempting not successfully. A faint smile touched her mouth. She pressed a single key. The note expanded through the room. The penthouse returned it cleanly with almost no echo. Good acoustics, she said. The room was designed around the piano. Do you play no? Then why own it? It belonged to my mother. Claire touched another key. Did she play every night? What happened to her? Adrian did not answer immediately. She died when I was 16. I'm sorry. So was I. The words were flat, but the grief beneath them had not vanished. It had only learned to stand still. Claire began playing a simple progression, quiet enough to leave space between them. Adrian remained near the windows. She could feel his attention change. Not disappear. Soften. You sat behind me at concerts, she said. Yes. Always in the same section. Usually. Upper level. Near the rear. Adrian lowered the papers. How did you know the person in that seat never applauded with everyone else? I applauded. After the room had already started. I dislike crowds. No. You wanted to leave before the lights came up. His silence confirmed it. Claire continued playing. You watched from a place where I could not recognize you. You could not recognize anyone visually. That is not the same as being unable to recognize them. Adrian walked closer. His steps slowed near the piano. What did you recognize? A man who arrived before the first note and left before the final bow. Same shoes most evenings. Same cologne. Same habit of touching his watch when the audience became loud. Adrian looked down at his wrist. Claire heard the movement and smiled. You are touching it now. He pulled his hand away. You knew someone was following you. I knew several people were. Why did you never report it to whom? The police? The same police you said Crow owns? He had no answer. Claire ended the progression and let the last chord fade. Some watchers stayed too close, she said. They wanted me to know they were there. Others kept their distance. They changed cars, shoes, and voices. Mine were trained. Most of them. Adrian leaned against the side of the piano. Most one man wore the same aftershave for 3 years. I had him reassigned. He disappeared after I told a friend I hated the smell. Adrian's silence lasted half a second too long. You listened to that conversation. I received reports. That is a careful distinction. It is an accurate one. Claire turned on the bench to face him. I do not know whether that makes it better. It probably does not. The answer matched the one he had given in the car. For reasons she did not understand, the consistency mattered. Mason entered the room without knocking. His shoes crossed the marble and stopped near the doorway. We have a problem. Adrian's voice changed instantly. The softness disappeared. What happened? 2 storage facilities on the south side were hit before dawn. One burned. The other was emptied. Casualties. 3 men wounded. 1 missing. Crow. The fire crews found his mark on the rear wall. Claire heard a photograph slide across the piano. Adrian picked it up. What mark, she asked. Mason did not answer. Adrian did. A black crown. Subtle. Victor has never valued subtlety when fear will work. Mason continued. A union representative disappeared last night. He was supposed to sign the rail contract this morning. Which representative? Paul Mercer. Claire knew the name. Mercer had appeared in several news interviews about new transit construction near the river. Crow wants the contract, Adrian said. He wants the route beneath it, Mason replied. What route? Claire asked. Mason remained quiet again. She turned toward him. You are standing in the room discussing missing men and hidden routes, but you still think silence will protect me. I think information can become dangerous. It became dangerous 13 years before I heard it. Mason's breath left slowly. The contract gives access to abandoned freight tunnels under the river district. Claire considered that. For moving weapons. Anything Crow does not want. Seen, Adrian said. Mason placed another document on the piano. There is more. Someone accessed our transportation schedule last night. From where inside the organization? The air changed. Claire heard it in both men. Adrian did not raise his voice. Who had access 8 captains? You, me, and Ethan. Mason hesitated. And Ethan. As though summoned by his name, the private elevator chimed. The doors opened. Ethan Cole entered carrying a leather folder. His peppermint gum reached Claire before his voice did. Morning. His right knee clicked as he turned toward the piano. Miss Bennett, Mr. Cole, you remember me? You chew loudly. Mason gave a quiet snort. Ethan did not laugh. I brought the security reports from Lincoln Park, he said. Paper moved across the piano. Claire kept her face calm. When Mason had spoken Ethan's name, the man's breathing had changed. Not much. A slight pause between inhale and exhale, a body preparing for scrutiny. Adrian opened the folder. What did they take from the apartment? Nothing obvious. They destroyed the desk, opened the walls, and tore apart the piano. Claire's hand tightened against the bench. My father's piano. Ethan cleared his throat. Yes. Was the music still there? Adrian looked toward her. What music? Old exercise books, concert scores. Ethan answered first. Most of it was scattered across the floor. We collected everything. I want it returned. It may contain evidence. It belongs to me. Adrian closed the folder. Have it brought here. Ethan shifted his weight. His knee clicked again. Of course. Claire turned toward the sound. Were you at my apartment? No. You smelled the damage. Silence. Ethan's gum stopped moving. What you said, most of the music was scattered. You did not say the report described it that way. I saw photographs. Did the photographs carry the smell of plaster? Mason moved slightly. Adrian did not. Ethan gave a restrained laugh. You are sharp? You did not answer. I went after the building was secured. Why? To oversee the search. Claire nodded once. Ethan started chewing again. Adrian handed the folder to Mason. Verify the entry logs. Ethan's voice cooled. You think I entered without recording it? I think everyone gets verified. Even Claire. The sentence remained unspoken, but she heard it. Ethan did too. I will send you the logs, he said. His steps retreated. The elevator doors closed behind him. Mason waited. You noticed that Claire touched the piano key nearest her thumb. He was nervous before I questioned him. Ethan has worked for Adrian for 11 years, so he has had 11 years to learn how to hide it. Adrian moved away from the piano. Suspicion is not proof. I know. You sound disappointed. I sound patient. Mason laughed openly this time. Adrian ignored him. I will review the logs. Claire rose from the bench. And while you do, you stay here. There is that tone again. This is not about control. Men who want control often say that. Adrian stepped closer. Claire felt his presence before he spoke. Crow's people entered your home less than 12 hours ago, and I am aware of that every second. Then understand why I will not let you walk into the city alone. You are confusing my understanding with my agreement. Mason quietly left the room. The elevator doors closed. Claire and Adrian stood beside the piano with the whole penthouse listening around them. I did not bring you here because I think you are weak, Adrian said. You brought me here without giving me a real choice. I gave you the choice between this building and men who intended to torture you. That is not freedom. No. The word came without defense. Claire turned away. That honesty again. She disliked how effectively it disarmed her. You could have told me years ago, she said, and placed Crow's attention on you. You could have prepared me. I believe distance was preparation. It was ignorance. I know that now. Claire looked toward the windows. She could not see the lake beyond them, but she heard the wind press against the glass. Describe it, she said. Adrian paused. What? The view. He moved beside her. The lake is gray. The rain has stopped, but the clouds are low enough to hide the tops of the buildings. Traffic is moving slowly along the shore. There are white caps on the water. Anything else? A woman is walking a small brown dog on the sidewalk below. That seems irresponsible in this weather. The dog appears to agree. Claire smiled despite herself. Adrian's voice lowered. The city looks clean from this height, but it is not. No. Does that trouble you? It used to. And now I know height changes the view, not the streets. Claire rested her palm against the glass. It was cold. Do you ever leave this place without guards? Rarely. Then we are both prisoners. I chose mine. Did you? Adrian did not answer. Later that afternoon, the staff brought Claire's recovered sheet music from the apartment. The pages arrived in sealed evidence boxes. She sat on the living room floor with the papers spread around her. Mason read titles aloud while she separated the scores by texture, size, and raised markings. Adrian worked at the dining table. Every few minutes, Claire heard him turn a page or speak into his phone. None of Samuel's original music appeared in the boxes, only printed scores, only ordinary exercises. The missing pages had either been taken or destroyed. Claire did not mention the copy hidden beneath her cello case. Mason placed another book beside her. Bach suites. Keep those on the left. You organize by composer, by memory. That sounds less reliable. So does trusting Ethan. Mason became still. You really do not like him. I do not dislike him. You accused him of hiding a visit to your apartment. I observed that he hid it. There is a difference. Yes. Dislike is emotional. Mason placed the next score carefully. Adrian says the same thing before he ruins someone. Across the room, Adrian spoke without looking up. I can hear you. That was the intention, Mason said. Claire reached for another stack and found empty air. Adrian crossed the room before Mason could move. He knelt beside her and placed the pages beneath her hand. His fingers brushed hers. Claire's pulse changed. So did his. Neither moved immediately. What is this? She asked. Adrian looked at the cover. Saint-Saëns. Put it with the performance scores. He did. Their shoulders nearly touched as he remained beside her. Mason stood. I suddenly remember an urgent meeting somewhere else. Adrian looked up. You do not. I might. Sit down. Mason sat. Claire hid a smile. That evening she agreed to play. Not for Adrian. That was what she told him. She placed the cello between her knees and tightened the bow. Adrian sat in a chair near the piano. Mason remained by the fireplace with a drink in his hand. Ethan stood near the elevator. Claire could smell his gum. She began with Bach. The first movement filled the penthouse with disciplined sorrow. Each note traveled through the polished room and returned warmer. Claire forgot the guards. She forgot the locked elevator. For several minutes, the penthouse belonged to the music. When the final note faded, no one spoke. Then Claire changed the position of her bow. She began the opening of Winter Nocturne. 4 notes. A rest. 4 more. Adrian's glass touched the table. Stop. Claire lowered the bow. What? Play the opening again. She did. Adrian rose. His steps came closer. Your father played those notes. Claire kept her face still. My father did not play cello. On a piano, years ago, he played the same 8 notes repeatedly while waiting for my father. When the week before the crash. Mason placed his drink down. Did he say what they meant? No. Claire ran her fingers across the strings. He wrote the piece for me. Adrian stopped beside her. You told me he wrote exercises. He did. That is not an exercise. No. Ethan's gum clicked softly between his teeth. Claire turned her head toward him. The sound stopped. What Adrian asked? Nothing. He crouched beside her chair. Claire. She could feel his attention searching her face. My father became obsessed with the piece during his final month, she said. He made me memorize sections. I assumed he wanted me to perform it. Did you? No. It was unfinished. Do you remember it? Parts. The lie sat between them. Adrian heard it. His voice softened. You tap the opening rhythm when you hide something. Claire's bow went still. Mason looked between them. Ethan said nothing. You have been watching my hands, Claire said. I watch everything near you. That is not romantic. I was not trying to be romantic. Good. Was I failing? Her mouth almost betrayed her. She set the bow down. I am tired. Adrian rose. Then rest. Claire stood, folded her cane open, and left the room. She felt Ethan's attention follow her down the hallway. That night, sleep did not come. Claire lay beneath unfamiliar sheets and listened to the penthouse. A guard passed outside at midnight. The elevator opened at 12:40. Mason left. Adrian entered his office. At 1:15, a glass struck wood. At 1:20, the office door opened. Adrian walked into the kitchen. His steps were slower than usual. Claire rose, pulled on a robe, and followed the faint sound. She found him at the kitchen island. The scent of blood reached her. You are injured. It is a cut. From what glass? That explanation lacks effort. It is late. So the truth has gone to bed. Adrian exhaled. Claire moved closer and found his wrist. His hand turned beneath hers. The cut crossed his palm. Not deep, but fresh. You broke something. A glass. Why, I received bad news. About the missing man. Yes. Claire found a clean cloth and antiseptic in a drawer she had mapped earlier. Sit. Adrian remained standing. Was that an order, he asked? Yes. He sat. Claire cleaned the cut. His fingers tightened once. You order people killed, but antiseptic makes you tense. It is cold. You are a poor liar. So are you. Her hand stopped. What have I lied about Crow's name? Claire resumed wrapping his palm. Knowing a name is not knowing the truth. The composition. My father's music belongs to me. If it contains information Crow will kill for it stopped being only music. That sounds convenient for you. I do not want the accounts. You want Crow? Yes. And if destroying him destroys what remains of my father? Adrian's voice changed. I would not ask that of you. You already ask me to trust the family that abandoned him. I ask you to trust me. Claire tied the bandage. You are not your father. No. But you became his successor. Yes. She released his hand. Then earn the difference. Adrian lifted his bandaged palm and gently touched her wrist. The contact was careful, a question rather than a claim. Claire did not pull away. What would earn it? He asked. Tell me the truth before I have to drag it from you. All of it. All of it. His thumb moved once against her pulse. My father knew Samuel was in danger. He refused protection because he believed Crow's threat could be contained. Claire's breath slowed. You said that before. I did not say my father also wanted Samuel's copy of the accounts. Her hand became cold beneath his. Why? Samuel had proof my father approved payments to men who later killed 2 witnesses. Claire stepped back. And you knew. Not until after the crash. Did you destroy the evidence? No. Where is it? I do not know. You expect me to believe that I expect you to decide whether I am lying. Claire listened. No shift in breath, no tightening in his voice, only exhaustion and anger, both directed inward. I believe you do not know, she said. Adrian stood. That is not the same as trust. No. His body was close enough that she felt heat through the thin fabric of her robe. Claire. She raised one hand and found the line of his jaw. Adrian went completely still. Her thumb rested near the corner of his mouth. You smell like smoke, she said. I was at the warehouse. You said the cut came from a glass. It did. You leave out details when they make you appear vulnerable. So do you. Claire lowered her hand. Neither spoke. The distance between them felt smaller than touch. A phone rang in Adrian's office. The moment broke. He answered on the second ring. Mason's voice carried faintly through the receiver. Adrian's expression hardened. When A pause. How many? Another pause. I am coming. He ended the call. What happened? Claire asked. A shipment was attacked at Chicago Executive Airport. The freight tunnels. Number weapons. How many men? 6 are trapped inside a hangar. Claire heard him open a cabinet. Metal shifted. A magazine locked into a pistol. This could be the diversion Mason expected. It probably is. But you are going. If I leave them there, I lose more than the shipment. You lose authority. Yes. Claire followed him into the living room. Mason entered through the elevator as Adrian reached for his jacket. His breathing was fast. Crow's men sealed both roads to the hangar, Mason said. We have one route through the maintenance field. Take 4 cars. I already called them. Adrian turned toward the hallway. Ethan. The captain appeared from near the security room. Peppermint. Tobacco. Nervous sweat. Claire heard all 3. You stay here, Adrian said. No one enters without my voice authorization. Ethan nodded. I understand. Claire faced Adrian. You trust him with my life. That was not what I asked. The room became quiet. Adrian stepped closer. What did you hear? Nothing. I can prove. Mason glanced at the elevator. We need to move. Adrian took Claire's hand. His grip was firm, but not controlling. Lock the interior door after we leave. You built 7 locks. Claire. Fear lived beneath her name. She squeezed his hand once. Go. Adrian released her. The elevator doors closed around him and Mason. The penthouse descended into stillness. Claire remained near the center of the living room. Ethan dismissed the 2 guards at the main hall, telling them Adrian had ordered extra men to secure the lower garage. Claire listened to their footsteps fade into the elevator. The doors shut again. No one remained except her and Ethan. She sat beside her cello and rested both hands on the strings. The city wind moved against the glass. The refrigerator hummed in the kitchen. Ethan stood near the entrance. His right knee clicked. Peppermint covered tobacco. Neither covered fear. So he said. His voice no longer carried the careful respect he used around Adrian. The famous Claire Bennett. She kept her face turned toward the cello. What about me? Adrian burned 2 warehouses and killed 9 men because Crow entered your apartment. That sounds like a complaint you should make to Adrian. I have made several, and yet you are still employed. Ethan laughed quietly. For the moment, Claire heard a small object turn against metal. Once, twice, a suppressor locking onto the barrel of a pistol. Her fingers moved from the strings toward the side of her chair. Her cane rested against it. Adrian trusted you, she said. Adrian stopped thinking clearly the moment you fell into his arms. So Victor Crow offered you something. Ethan's breathing stopped. Claire continued. Money, territory, a title you believe you deserve. You have an active imagination. You chew faster when you lie. The gum went still. Ethan walked toward her. His knee clicked on the 4th step. $5 million, he said. Control of the West Side. A seat at Crow's table. And all you have to do is deliver a blind woman. All I need is what Samuel Bennett left in your head. Claire allowed her breath to tremble. She lowered her chin. I told Adrian I do not have the ledger. Adrian wants to believe you. And you do not? I believe Samuel was too careful to trust paper. Ethan stopped behind her chair. Cold metal touched the back of her head. He gave you the accounts. Claire's right hand moved another inch toward the cane. I was 13. You were a prodigy. I played cello. You memorized everything. His free hand closed around her hair. He pulled her head back. Pain sharpened across her scalp. You are going to tell me how to access Crow's money, he said. Then you are going to tell me where the Vale records are hidden. Claire's fingers reached the cane. Her thumb found the concealed biometric strip beneath the grip. She let one tear slide down her cheek. Please, she whispered. Ethan leaned closer. Peppermint and tobacco filled the air around her. That is better. Claire wrapped her hand around the cane. The trembling left her body. You made the same mistake Victor Crow made, she said. Ethan tightened his grip. What mistake? Claire turned her face slightly toward his voice. You believed the blind girl was the easiest person in the room to control. Ethan's grip tightened in Claire's hair. The pistol pressed harder against the base of her skull. For half a second, neither of them moved. Then Claire let the cello bow slip from her left hand. It struck the marble near Ethan's right shoe. His attention dropped. That was all she needed. Claire twisted sharply beneath his arm. Her cane hooked around his wrist and dragged the pistol away from her head. The suppressed shot punched into the ceiling. Plaster rained across her shoulders. Ethan cursed and pulled back, but Claire had already found the angle of his elbow. She drove the heel of her palm beneath it and forced his arm upward. Bone shifted. His grip broke. Claire turned inside his reach and drove her elbow into his ribs. Air burst from his lungs. She heard his right foot scrape backward, then the familiar click from his knee. Ethan lunged. Claire stepped left. He struck the side of the cello chair, stumbled, and caught himself against the piano. The pistol remained in his hand. Claire swept her cane low. The carbon shaft slammed into the outside of his damaged knee. Ethan collapsed against the keys. A violent chord exploded through the room. You little bitch. Claire moved before the sound faded. Ethan fired again. The bullet tore through the leather back of the chair where she had been sitting. Claire lowered her center of gravity and drove the end of her cane into his wrist. The pistol hit the floor. Ethan kicked it toward the windows. Claire counted the scrape. 7 feet, too far to reach without exposing herself. Ethan came at her with both hands. She heard his shoes strike marble, then carpet. His breathing moved to her right. She pivoted and raised the cane across her body. His forearm collided with it. The impact traveled through her wrists. Ethan was stronger than she expected. He caught the cane, twisted it, and pulled her toward him. Claire let him. The sudden surrender disrupted his balance. She stepped close and drove her forehead into his nose. Cartilage cracked. Ethan shouted and released the cane. Blood hit the rug. Claire backed away 2 steps. Her thumb pressed into the biometric strip hidden beneath the grip. A quiet mechanical sound answered. The lower section of the cane separated. An 8-inch titanium blade locked into place. Ethan stopped breathing for 1 stunned second. "What the hell is that?" Claire turned the blade toward his voice. "My father believed in backup plans." Ethan wiped his nose with the back of one hand. "You think that makes you dangerous?" "No." Claire adjusted her grip. "The fact that you never noticed does." He charged again. This time he did not move carefully. Pain and humiliation had made him loud. Claire heard the weight shift through his hips. She felt the air move before his hand reached her. She stepped outside his line and cut across his forearm. The blade opened skin just below the elbow. Ethan recoiled with a broken cry. His fingers struck the piano. Claire heard the wet slap of blood against polished wood. "You cut me. You were trying to kill me. I was trying to make you cooperate. You need better negotiation skills." Ethan grabbed a heavy glass from the table and threw it toward her voice. Claire heard it leave his hand. She ducked. The glass shattered against the wall. He used the sound to cover his next approach. It almost worked. His shoulder struck her chest and drove her backward. The back of her legs hit the edge of the low table. Claire fell. The cane left her hand. It landed somewhere near the rug. Ethan dropped on top of her. His forearm crushed her throat. The smell of tobacco blood and peppermint filled her lungs. "You are not walking out of this room," he whispered. Claire clawed at his arm. She allowed panic into her breathing. Not because she felt helpless, because he needed to believe she was. Ethan pressed harder. Darkness had never frightened Claire. The lack of air did. She forced herself to count. 1 breath missed. 2. His weight shifted as he reached for something at his waist. A second weapon. Claire's left hand moved beneath the edge of the table. Her fingers found the broken stem of the glass he had thrown. She closed her fist around it. Ethan drew a knife. Claire heard the blade clear leather. She drove the broken glass into the muscle above his knee. Ethan screamed and rolled away. Claire turned with him, trapping his injured leg beneath hers. She struck his throat with the heel of her hand. He gagged. Her fingers found his knife wrist. She twisted until the blade fell. Claire kicked it away and crawled toward the rug. Her hand swept once across the fibers. Nothing. Again, the tip of her cane touched her fingertips. She seized it and rose. Ethan was already standing. His right leg dragged now. The old click had become a rough grind. "You have been pretending," he said. Claire held the bladed cane across her body. "So have you. How long?" She listened to him shift left. The piano blocked one side. The couch stood behind him. He had fewer choices than he realized. "How long have you known?" he demanded. "Known what that Vale was watching you?" Claire took one measured step forward. "Long enough. Then why let him bring you here? Because men like Victor Crow do not step into the light unless they believe someone else has already won." Ethan moved toward the pistol by the windows. Claire heard the change in the sound beneath his shoes as he left the rug. She crossed the distance quickly. The cane struck his ankle. He fell to one knee. Claire placed the blade against the side of his throat. Ethan froze. A bead of blood slid beneath the edge. "You were never afraid of me," he said. "I was afraid." Her voice remained calm. "Fear and helplessness are not the same thing." His hand drifted toward his jacket. Claire pressed the blade closer. "Do not." He stopped. "You cannot see what I am doing." I heard the fabric move. Your right shoulder dropped. You keep your spare magazine in the inside pocket and your second knife near your waist. Ethan's breath turned shallow. Claire continued. "You favor your left side when your knee hurts. You chew peppermint gum before meetings because cigarettes make Adrian angry. You tap your ring against your phone when you are waiting for someone to call." Ethan said nothing. "You were waiting for Crow tonight." His pulse beat against the blade. "He promised you, Chicago," Claire said. "But he was never going to give it to you. You know nothing about Crow. I know he rewards betrayal until the traitor has no one left to betray." Ethan tried to lean away. Claire followed. "Where is the ledger?" he asked. "There is no ledger." "Samuel kept records." "Yes." "Then where are they?" Claire's expression hardened. "My father understood paper could burn, drives could be stolen, passwords could be forced from a frightened man." Ethan swallowed carefully. "So he hid it in you. He taught me a composition, Winter Nocturne." The title came from Ethan too quickly. Claire went still. "You searched my apartment. I told you I was there." "No. You lied until I forced you to admit it." She pressed the blade just enough to make him hiss. "You knew the title before Adrian did." Ethan remained silent. "Victor has part of the score," Claire said. A faint movement of his throat answered her. "He found one of my father's drafts after the crash." Ethan stared toward her face. Claire could feel it. "You are guessing." Crow spent 13 years looking for a book because the draft meant nothing without the system behind it. Ethan's breathing changed again. "Confirmation." Claire smiled without warmth. "Thank you." "For what?" "For telling me I was right." She stepped back half an inch, giving him room to speak. "The music is the ledger," Ethan said. "The music is a map." "How?" "Notes represent digits. Time signatures identify institutions. Tempo changes separate countries. Bowing marks indicate transfers. Repeated rests identify false accounts." Ethan's voice dropped. "And the names. In the final movement." "You memorized it." "Yes. All of it. My father made me practice until I could play it without thinking." Ethan laughed once, but there was no humor in it. A blind child carrying 2 empires in her head. "I was not blind when he taught me." The room became quieter. Ethan looked toward the scar beneath her ear. "The crash." "Yes. Crow believed the injury damaged your memory. So did the doctors. But it did not." "No." Claire remembered hospital rooms that smelled of disinfectant and rain, doctors asking her to repeat words, social workers speaking slowly as if blindness had changed her intelligence. She had kept the composition silent. Samuel had made her promise never to play the full piece for anyone she did not trust. For 13 years, she had trusted no one enough. Ethan shifted his weight. "Why did you wait?" "Because I did not know who killed him. You know now. I knew Crow was involved. I did not know whether the Vale family helped him. Adrian told you they abandoned Samuel. He told me his father did." "And you believe Adrian is different?" Claire thought of the bandage around Adrian's hand. His voice when he admitted he arrived too late. His refusal to excuse himself. "I have not decided." Ethan gave a soft, ugly laugh. "He has been obsessed with you for years. That is his problem. It became ours the second he started burning the city for you. He was already at war. He was winning before you appeared." "No, he was surviving." Claire heard the offense in Ethan's breath. Men like him mistook survival for power because admitting weakness would force them to examine their own fear. Crow knew Adrian would leave the penthouse for the airport, she said. "Yes. You gave him the shipment route." Ethan said nothing. "You also gave him my address." His silence became heavier. Claire's grip tightened. "Did you? I gave him access to a file. My building manager is in the hospital because of you. He was not supposed to interfere. That is what cowards say when innocent people bleed." Ethan's anger returned. "You think you are better than us because you play music in clean rooms? No. You came here to use Adrian's army." "Yes. The answer stopped him. Claire did not soften it. Someone entered my rehearsal studio 6 weeks ago. He searched my scores and missed the copy hidden inside my cello case. I traced the security company that installed the building cameras. One of its owners worked for Crow. You traced them. I listened to a technician mention the company name while repairing the alarm. Then I asked questions. You knew Crow had found you. I knew someone was looking. So you went to the Halcyon. I learned Adrian would attend the charity meeting. How a donor spoke too freely during rehearsal. You planned the collision. No. Claire remembered the wet marble, the broken glass, and Adrian's hands catching her. That part was real. But you planned to approach him. Yes. Ethan stared at her as if the room had changed shape. You let him believe he rescued you. I needed to know what kind of man he had become. And Claire tilted her head. The decision is still open. The private elevator gave a distant mechanical sound. Claire heard power move through the locking system. Someone was coming up. Ethan heard it too. His body tightened. Adrian had returned. Ethan moved without warning. He struck Claire's wrist and twisted away from the blade. She cut his collar instead of his throat. He drove his shoulder into her and reached for the fallen pistol. Claire caught the back of his jacket. The fabric tore. Ethan kicked behind him. His heel struck her ribs. Pain flared along her side. Claire lost her grip and hit the floor. The elevator climbed. Ethan crawled toward the gun. Claire pushed herself up. Her breath came sharp now. The pistol rested near the glass wall. Ethan's fingers closed around it. Claire heard the metal scrape. She threw the cane. The carbon shaft struck his wrist. The gun slid away. Ethan turned and rushed her. Claire planted one foot against the base of the couch. When he reached her, she used his momentum. Her hands found his forearm and shoulder. She twisted, dropped her weight, and sent him over her hip. Ethan crashed onto the marble. His head struck the floor. The sound was deep and final. Claire found the cane. The blade had retracted during the impact. She pressed the biometric strip again. Metal locked into place. Ethan rolled onto his back, dazed. Claire stepped over him and lowered the point to his carotid artery. The elevator stopped. The locks released. The doors opened. Adrian entered with his pistol raised. His jacket was gone. Blood marked the front of his white shirt and darkened one sleeve. Mason came behind him with 2 guards. All 4 men stopped. The living room looked as though a storm had crossed it. A bullet hole marked the ceiling. The cello chair lay on its side. Blood streaked the piano. Broken glass covered the marble. Claire stood in the center of it all. Her robe had torn at one shoulder. A bruise had begun to darken along her throat. Her hair hung loose around her face. The blade in her cane rested against Ethan's neck. Adrian lowered his weapon by 1 inch. Claire. She did not turn. Your captain sold my location to Victor Crow. Ethan coughed. She is lying. Claire pressed the blade closer. A line of blood appeared. He received $5 million and control of the west side. He gave Crow the airport route. He gave him access to my file. He searched my apartment before Crow's men arrived. Mason stepped forward. Ethan. Ethan's voice broke beneath the pressure of the blade. She manipulated all of you. Adrian crossed the room slowly. His attention moved from the bruise on Claire's throat to the blood on Ethan's arm. What happened at the airport? Claire asked. A trap, Mason said. The hangar was nearly empty. Crow wanted us away from the building. Claire nodded. Ethan knew you would return quickly once you saw it. Adrian's eyes never left her. How did you know? Because I listened. Ethan looked toward Adrian. She knew about the ledger. She knew you were watching her. She came to the hotel on purpose. Mason glanced at Claire. Adrian did not move. Is that true? He asked. Claire kept the blade steady. I knew someone had followed me for years. You knew it was me. I suspected. The hotel I learned you would be there. The air between them changed. Adrian lowered his gun completely. You planned this. I planned to speak to you. You lied to me. So did you. I told you the truth in the car. You told me the part that made you look like my protector. His jaw tightened. I protected you for 13 years, from a danger you never allowed me to understand. Mason moved closer to Ethan. Boss. Adrian finally looked down at the man on the floor. Take him. 2 guards seized Ethan's arms. Claire removed the blade from his throat. Ethan struggled as they hauled him upright. You think she is on your side? He shouted. She came here to use you. Adrian's expression did not change. Mason struck Ethan across the mouth. Save your breath. They dragged him toward the elevator. Ethan's injured knee failed twice. His shoes scraped through broken glass. Before the doors closed, he looked toward Claire. Crow will tear this city apart to get what is in your head. Claire folded the blade back into the cane. Then he should have chosen better men. The doors shut. Silence returned. Adrian and Claire stood alone in the ruined living room. He placed his pistol on the piano. Are you hurt? My ribs. He stepped toward her. Claire raised the cane between them. Do not. Adrian stopped. Blood stained his shirt near the shoulder. Whose blood is that? Not mine. That answer was designed to reassure me. Yes, it does not. Neither does seeing his hand around your throat. Claire touched the bruise. I handled it. I can see that. His gaze moved across the room again. There was no disbelief in his voice now. Only anger, fascination, and something darker that Claire could feel without seeing. You played me, he said. Claire turned toward him. You followed me for 13 years, to keep you alive, and I came here to do the same. You let me believe you knew nothing about Crow. You let me believe my father died in an accident. I was trying to protect his memory. You were protecting your access to me. Adrian flinched. Barely, but she heard the shift of his breath. I never touched your life more than necessary. You paid for my education, my medical care, my apartment. You placed men outside my rehearsals. I kept you alive. You keep saying that, as if survival cancels consent. Adrian looked toward the windows. The city reflected across the dark glass behind him. When Samuel died, I had no power, he said. My father controlled the organization. Crow controlled half the police. You were injured and alone. I had my aunt. Your aunt had debts Crow could exploit, so you paid those too. Yes. Claire lowered the cane, but she did not step closer. You decided what my life should be. I decided Crow would not take it. You preferred me innocent. His head turned back toward her. I preferred you safe. Those are not the same thing. No. The answer came quietly. Adrian walked to the piano and rested his bandaged hand beside the blood on the wood. The composition, he said. Claire remained still. It contains the accounts. Yes, all of them. The structure of both organizations as it existed 13 years ago. Crow's reserve accounts, Vale accounts, payments to officials, names connected to murders. My father's name. Yes. Adrian absorbed that without defense. Do you have a written copy? Only part of it. The page in your cello case. Claire felt her pulse shift. You searched it? No. I saw the way you checked the lining after we arrived. So you knew. I suspected. And you said nothing. I wanted you to choose when to tell me. Claire's anger faltered. That sounds almost respectful. I am trying. She heard no mockery in him. Why did Samuel teach you the code? He did not explain it as a code. He taught me patterns. Notes became numbers. Rhythms became locations. He made it a game. How old were you? 11 when he started. 13 when I memorized the final movement. Then the crash happened. Yes. Adrian's voice roughened. And you carried it alone. Claire looked down at the cane in her hand. There was no one I trusted. Not even me. I did not know you. You knew I was there. I knew someone was there. A man in the back of concert halls. Cars parked too long across the street. Footsteps that disappeared when I stopped walking. Adrian said nothing. I did not know whether you were protecting me or waiting for the right moment. And now I know you feel guilty. His breath left slowly. That is not all I feel. Claire heard the confession beneath the words. She did not allow it to pull them away from the truth. What do you want from the composition Crow's accounts? And the evidence against your family? Adrian turned fully toward her. Release it. Claire studied his voice. You would expose your father. He is dead. His name still protects yours. Then let it burn. The answer came without hesitation. Claire lowered the cane until its tip touched the floor. You mean that? Yes. Why? Because Samuel died protecting evidence my family helped create. Because my father chose power over him. Because I will not ask you to preserve our reputation at the cost of your truth. Claire remained silent. Adrian approached slowly. This time she did not raise the cane. He stopped within reach. His fingers lifted, then paused. May I? Claire understood. She nodded once. Adrian touched the bruise along her throat with the back of 2 fingers. His hand trembled almost imperceptibly. Claire had seen men become frightened by her blindness. She had heard pity, discomfort, and admiration disguised as surprise. She had never heard fear like this. Not fear of her. Fear for her. You could have died, he said. So could you. I am accustomed to that possibility. I am not. His hand fell. No, Adrian said. You are. Claire found the front of his shirt. The fabric was damp with another man's blood. You wanted me untouched by your world. Yes. That was never possible. My father made sure of it. Crow made sure of it. Your father made sure of it. I know. What I need from you now is not protection. Adrian's voice lowered. Tell me. Resources. For what to destroy Victor Crow? Financially. First. A dark stillness entered Adrian, and after Claire thought of the truck forcing her father's car toward the barrier, of glass against her face, of a dying hand searching for hers, I want him to look at me when everything he built disappears. Adrian stood inches away. Dead. Not until he understands why. The elevator opened again. Mason entered holding Ethan's phone in a clear evidence bag. His expression was harder than before. He talked faster than expected. Adrian turned. What did he give you? Crow has been using the old river terminal as a command point. Ethan was supposed to bring Claire there after the airport attack. Mason raised the phone. There is a new message. He read it aloud. Bring the girl to the old river terminal by midnight or every Vale account goes public. Adrian's face became cold. Crow does not have every account. No, Claire said. He wants us to believe he does. Mason looked toward her. How can you know if he had the full system he would not need me? Adrian took Ethan's phone and examined the message. He expects a response. Claire crossed to her cello case. She knelt, opened the clasps, and removed the instrument. Her fingers settled against the strings. Mason watched her. What are you doing? Claire drew the bow across the opening notes of Winter Nocturne. 4 notes. A rest. 4 more. The sound moved through the damaged room. Adrian understood first. He wants the ledger. Claire turned toward his voice. Then we will give him a performance. The last note of Winter Nocturne lingered in the damaged living room. Adrian watched Claire lower the bow. Mason looked from her to Ethan's phone. What exactly are you suggesting? Claire placed the cello against her shoulder again. Crow expects Ethan to deliver me and the account system. He does not know Ethan failed. He will know soon, Mason said. Ethan was supposed to check in. Then Ethan will check in. Adrian's expression hardened. He is in no condition to help us. He does not need to speak. Claire held out one hand. Give me the phone. Adrian placed it in her palm. She ran her fingers along the edges, then turned the device toward Mason. Does Ethan use voice messages? Sometimes. Find one with Victor's name in it. Mason unlocked the phone and searched. A moment later, Ethan's recorded voice filled the room. Victor wants the shipment moved before dawn. Claire listened twice. Do you have anyone who can reproduce that voice? Mason glanced at Adrian. We have people who can alter recordings, then make Ethan say Claire is secured. He found the score. He needs 2 hours to move her. Adrian crossed his arms. Crow will ask questions. Then do not give him time to ask. Claire turned toward Mason. Send the message while he is angry. Men like Crow hear what they expect when they believe they are winning. Mason studied her. You have dealt with men like Crow before I have spent 13 years listening to powerful men assume silence means obedience. Adrian's gaze remained on her. Mason moved toward the security room. I will have the recording ready. When he was gone, Adrian crossed the room and picked up the fallen chair. He set it upright, then collected the pistol from near the windows. Claire heard him unload it. You should have a doctor examine your ribs, he said. You should stop changing the subject. I am not. You are thinking about locking me in my room while you carry out my plan. Adrian placed the empty weapon on the piano. I am considering every option that keeps you out of Crow's reach. Then you are not considering the option that works. He wants you. He wants the code. He believes they are the same thing, only because no one has taught him otherwise. Adrian walked toward her. You nearly died 5 minutes ago. So did Ethan. That does not comfort me. It should concern Ethan more. Claire. His voice carried warning, but beneath it she heard something less controlled. Fear had not left him. She set the bow across the open cello case. Victor thinks he can force the truth out of me. We can use that. No. You have not heard the plan. I heard enough. You heard one sentence. It was the important one. Claire turned toward him. You do not get to decide this alone. I am responsible for your safety. No. You appointed yourself responsible. I gave your father my word. My father is dead. The sentence struck harder than she intended. Adrian became very still. Claire continued before regret could silence her. You promised him I would survive. I did. That promise does not give you ownership over every choice I make. I never said it did. You call it protection, but the result is the same. You choose the walls. You choose the guards. You choose which truths I can hear. That ends when Crow is dead. No, it ends now. Adrian stared at her. Claire heard the faint shift of his shoes against the marble. You are asking me to let you walk into a trap. I am asking you to trust that I can see a trap without seeing it. A muscle moved in his jaw. Crow has soldiers, police judges, and money. And I have the one thing holding them together. The accounts. The illusion that his empire is stable. Claire moved to the piano and rested her fingers on the keys. Victor does not rule because every man around him is loyal. He rules because they believe he can pay them, protect them, and punish them. She pressed one low note. If the money disappears, the loyalty disappears. Another note. If the records surface, his protection disappears. A third. If his captains believe he stole from them, his ability to punish anyone disappears. Adrian listened. Claire turned back toward him. We do not need to kill every man who works for Crow. We need to make every man who works for Crow question whether Victor can survive the night. Adrian's voice lowered. What do you need? The question changed the room. Not what he would allow, what she needed. Claire let out a slow breath. A recording studio? Access to your financial team. Every known Crow account, even the inactive ones. I need the names of his oldest captains and the banks they prefer. You will have them. I need Ethan alive long enough to confirm the river terminal layout. He is alive. For now. For as long as he remains useful. Claire accepted that answer. And I need the complete security records from my apartment and rehearsal hall. Adrian nodded. Done. Mason returned carrying a tablet. The message is ready. He played it. Ethan's voice emerged from the speaker, slightly strained but convincing. I have Bennett. She had part of the score hidden in the cello case. I need 2 hours. Keep the river terminal clear. Claire listened carefully. Remove the last sentence. Mason frowned. Why Ethan would not tell Victor what to do? He would ask. Mason altered the recording. The message played again. I have Bennett. She had part of the score hidden in the cello case. I need 2 hours. Is the river terminal clear? Claire nodded. Send it. Mason pressed the screen. For several seconds, no one spoke. The phone vibrated. Mason read the reply. Crow says midnight. Ethan enters through the east service door. No weapons. Claire smiled faintly. He believes it. Adrian did not. He suspects everything. Suspicion and certainty are different. We only need the space between them. Mason set the phone down. We have less than 2 hours. Then stop standing here, Claire said. The private recording room occupied the far side of the penthouse behind the locked third door. Adrian opened it with his palm. Inside, sound vanished. The walls absorbed every movement. A piano stood beside a bank of equipment. Microphones hung above a low platform designed for strings. Claire entered with her cello. You built a studio, she said. My mother recorded here. You kept it locked. I keep most things that matter locked. Claire touched the edge of the piano. That habit is becoming predictable. Adrian remained near the door. What are you recording? An altered passage from the third movement. What will it do if Crow's people understand Samuel's first layer? They will hear a route into one of the reserve accounts, and when they access it, your team traces the entry. Mason stood at the control station. Tracing a foreign account is not immediate. It will be if you already know the institution. Claire moved her fingers across the cello strings. The third movement begins in Vienna. It shifts to Zurich, then Nassau, then Chicago. Mason typed quickly. You remember the entire chain. I remember every note. Adrian leaned against the wall. What happens if Crow recognizes that you changed it? He will not. You sound certain. My father designed the code for a musician who understood finance. Crow understands neither. Claire raised the bow. Record from the first measure. The red light came on. She played. The music began gently, almost mournfully. Beneath the melody, numbers moved through rhythm. A sequence of notes opened the path toward a Swiss account Samuel had once used as a decoy. Claire changed 3 measures. One altered the security phrase. One redirected the access attempt. The last linked the transaction to a traceable reserve. When she finished, Mason remained silent. Adrian stood with his eyes fixed on her. What Claire asked. Mason cleared his throat. I expected it to sound like a code. It sounds like grief, Adrian said. Claire lowered the bow. It was both. Mason sent the recording through Ethan's phone. Victor replied less than a minute later. "Send the rest." Claire listened to the message through the speaker. Victor Crow's voice was smooth, older than she expected, and completely without urgency. She had heard it once before. Not in person. In a hospital corridor after the crash. A man had spoken to a police officer near her room. His voice had drifted through the curtain. Poor child. Her father made many mistakes. Claire's fingers tightened around the bow. Adrian noticed. "You recognize him?" "Yes." "From where?" "The hospital." Adrian's face changed. "He came near you. He spoke to an officer outside my room. Why was I never told I did not know who he was?" Adrian turned toward Mason. "Find every officer on duty that night." Mason nodded and left the room. Claire placed the cello back in its case. Crow wanted to know whether I remembered. Adrian's voice became dangerously quiet. "He stood outside your hospital room. And you still believe hiding me was enough?" Adrian faced her. "No." The word carried no defense. Claire touched the raised edge of the music page inside the case. "Send him one more section. Why to make him move money? You already gave him a route. He will test it with a small transfer. I need him to believe the full reserve is accessible." She recorded a second passage. This one contained the route to 3 accounts. 2 were false. 1 was real. Mason's team worked from the security room while Claire and Adrian waited in the studio. 10 minutes passed. Then Mason's voice came through the speaker. They accessed Zurich. Claire listened. "Amount 20,000. A test. Now they are checking Nassau." Adrian stood beside her. Claire heard the restrained energy in him. He wanted to move, to strike, to end the uncertainty with force. She understood the instinct because part of her wanted the same thing. Mason spoke again. They entered the reserve. Claire raised her head. "Trace it. We have the bank. We have the device. Chicago connection. Location near the River District." Adrian pushed away from the wall. "The terminal." "Not necessarily," Claire said. Mason continued. 3 more accounts just activated." Claire moved toward the control station. Which ones Mason read the identifiers. She translated them through memory. "Crow is checking his emergency funds." "How much?" "Over 60 million between them. Freeze the first 2. Mason hesitated. "You can do that. Samuel built a conflict key into every Crow reserve. It requires 2 matching authorization phrases. Crow only knows 1. And the second," Claire placed her fingers on the cello strings. "The opening of the 4th movement." Adrian looked at her. "You can lock his money with music. My father had a sense of humor." Claire played the phrase. Mason's technicians entered the translated sequence. 1 account froze, then the second. On the 3rd, an alert appeared. Mason read it aloud. "Transfer attempt blocked. Secondary authorization required." Claire listened to the tension rising through the room. "Send Crow a message." "What should it say?" She handed Mason Ethan's phone. "Tell him the full sequence only works when performed live." Adrian shook his head. "No." Claire ignored him. Mason typed. Victor's reply arrived almost instantly. "Then bring the instrument." Claire felt Adrian's anger settle beside her. "He wants you at the terminal," he said. "He already wanted me there. You just made yourself essential. I already was. You gave him proof. I gave him urgency." Adrian stepped closer. "Do not mistake my cooperation for agreement. Do not mistake my patience for permission." Their voices remained low. Mason looked between them, then quietly returned to the security room. Claire closed the cello case. Adrian caught the handle before she could lift it. "You are not going. Release the case." "No." "Adrian, he can have the recording. He will know it is incomplete. Then we force him to accept it." "How?" "With enough men. That is not a strategy. It is anger wearing a suit." His grip tightened around the handle. "You think I do not understand what is happening. I think you understand exactly enough to be afraid. I watched you survive surgery grief and 13 years of being hunted without knowing why. I will not take you to the man who caused it." Claire reached for his wrist. His pulse beat hard beneath her fingers. "You watched me survive," she said. "You did not help me choose how. I kept you alive long enough to have choices. Then let me make one." Silence pressed against the studio walls. Adrian released the case. Claire did not move. He reached into his pocket and placed something in her hand. A smooth metal card. "What is this full access to the penthouse, the garage, and the private elevator?" Claire ran her thumb across the surface. "You are giving me a way out. I am giving you the choice I should have given you when we arrived." She closed her fingers around the card. "You expect me to leave. I expect you to decide. And if I stay, then I fight beside you. Not ahead of her, not around her, beside her." Claire placed the card in her pocket. "I am staying." Adrian's breath shifted. "Because of Crow." Yes, the answer was true. It was not complete. Claire stepped closer until her hand found the front of his shirt. "And because I have not finished deciding what you deserve." Adrian covered her hand with his. "What have you decided so far that you are controlling?" "I know. Arrogant. I have heard that. Dangerous." "Yes. And honest when lying would be easier." His thumb moved across her knuckles. "You make that sound like a flaw." "I have not decided." Adrian lowered his head. Claire felt his breath near her forehead. He did not touch her. He waited. She lifted one hand and found his jaw. "At first I thought the man in the concert hall was another threat," she said. "I was. You never approached me. I did not trust myself to leave after." Claire's pulse quickened. "What changed? You fell into my arms." "That was hardly romantic." "No. Your men pointed guns at me. I remember. You kidnapped me. I removed you from immediate danger. Kidnapped." Adrian exhaled. "Kidnapped." Claire smiled faintly. "At least you learn." Slowly. His hand moved to her waist but stopped before touching. Claire closed the distance herself. The kiss began carefully. Adrian's restraint lasted one breath. Then his hand settled against her back and pulled her closer. The kiss deepened with all the violence he kept under control everywhere else. Claire felt the tension in his shoulders, the fear he had not admitted, and the promise he did not know how to speak. She pressed one palm against his chest and ended it. Adrian remained close. "Do not mistake that for surrender," she said. His breathing was rough. "I would not dare." A phone rang in the security room. Mason appeared in the doorway. His face had changed. "Claire." She turned. "What happened?" "There is a call on your secure line. Who? A woman. She says she is your student." Claire's stomach tightened. Mason brought the phone. Claire took it. "Hello?" For a moment she heard only breathing. Then a young woman spoke through tears. "Miss Bennett." Claire recognized the voice. "Emily." "I am sorry." Claire gripped the phone. "Where are you? I do not know. They took me outside the conservatory." A man spoke in the background. "Victor. Put him on." The line shifted. "Miss Bennett," Victor said. Claire's body went cold. "Let her go. You sound like Samuel. Then you should remember how badly he outsmarted you." Victor laughed softly. "He died on the side of a frozen road. He kept you searching for 13 years. Adrian stood close enough to hear both sides. Claire felt the fury radiating from him. Victor continued. "You have something that belongs to me. My father's work never belonged to you. Your father built my empire. My father built a cage you were too stupid to recognize. The laughter vanished. Midnight. The old river freight terminal. Bring the complete composition and the instrument. You release Emily first. No. She has nothing to do with this. That is why she is useful. Claire's grip tightened until the phone creaked. If you hurt her, you lose the code. If you fail to arrive, she loses more. A quiet sob sounded in the background. Claire forced her voice to remain calm. How do I know she is alive when I get there? Victor handed the phone back. Emily gasped. Miss Bennett, please do not come. The line went dead. No one spoke. Adrian reached for the phone. Claire held it away. He took her because of me. He took her because he is losing. She is 20 years old. I know. He will kill her. He may kill her even if you go. Claire turned toward him. Then we make sure he cannot. Adrian's voice hardened. I will send men through every entrance. Crow expects that. I do not care. You should. Mason moved closer. Ethan described the terminal before he lost consciousness. Claire turned toward him. What did he say? Main floor loading platform, 2 offices, basement storage, and an abandoned rail tunnel beneath the east side. Entrances, 4 above ground, 1 through the tunnel. Cameras. Crow installed his own system. Power. Separate generator in the basement. Claire nodded. I need a map. Mason led her to the dining table. A raised tactical model arrived 15 minutes later from one of Adrian's security teams. Claire placed both hands on it. The terminal spread beneath her fingers in ridges and grooves. She learned the main entrance. The east service door Ethan had been ordered to use. The rail tunnel, the support columns, the loading platform, the office where Crow might hold Emily. She traced every path again, then again. Adrian stood across from her. You do not have to be inside. Yes, I do. We can place a speaker in the terminal. Crow will make me play before he releases her. He will not release her. Then I need to reach her. Mason tapped the model. The tunnel ends here beneath the main platform. My team can enter without crossing the cameras. Claire followed the route with one finger. How long from the tunnel entrance to the stairs? About 90 seconds. Too long if Crow hears you. We can cut the power. Claire found the generator room. When? After you enter. Adrian's hand flattened against the table. She is not entering alone. Crow ordered Ethan to bring her, Mason said. We can use one man in Ethan's coat and keep his face hidden. He knows Ethan's build. Then use the darkness, Claire said. Adrian looked toward her. Cut the lights before we reach the main floor. Crow will move his men toward the entrances. Mason's team enters through the tunnel. And you, I follow the wall to the office. You cannot know Emily is there. I heard an echo on the call. Small room, concrete walls, metal door. The offices are the only enclosed rooms above ground. Mason studied the model. She is right. Adrian remained silent. Claire reached across the table until she found his hand. I am not asking you to stop being afraid. His fingers closed around hers. What are you asking? Use it. He lowered his head. When he spoke, his voice had returned to the quiet command that ruled rooms. Mason, divide the teams. 2 at the north entrance, 2 at the loading dock, 4 through the tunnel. No one fires unless Crow's men fire first. Mason nodded. Understood. Cut exterior communications 30 seconds before the power. What about police? Half belong to Crow. The other half will arrive late. Claire released Adrian's hand and opened her cello case. She removed the hidden page of Winter Nocturne. The paper trembled once between her fingers. Not from fear, from memory. Samuel's hand guiding hers over the first notes. Again, Claire. Do not memorize only the sound. Memorize where it leads. She placed the page on the table. I need Mason's financial team ready when I play the final movement. What does it unlock? Adrian asked. Crow's remaining reserve. How much enough to keep his organization alive for years? And where will it go? Claire turned toward Mason. Create protected trusts for the families of every civilian Crow killed. Mason paused. That will take time. You have the account structure. We can prepare the routes. Do it. Adrian watched her. You planned this before tonight. I planned pieces. How many? Enough to know revenge without control becomes another kind of prison. Claire folded the page and returned it to the case. Mason left to prepare the transfers. Adrian remained beside her. When this is over, he said, Crow's records will expose people connected to my family. Yes. Release them. Claire closed the clasps. You may lose judges, contracts, captains. Release everything. Some of your own accounts may freeze. Then we build new ones. You say that easily. No. His voice was calm. I say it knowing exactly what it costs. Claire touched his bandaged hand. Samuel would have respected that answer. I would rather have earned it while he was alive. She turned toward him. Regret is not loyalty. No. What you do with it can be. Adrian raised her hand to his lips. The touch was brief, not possessive. A promise made without taking. Mason returned. Vehicles are ready. Claire secured the cello across her back. Her cane opened with a clean snap. Adrian reached for his pistol. Before leaving the penthouse, Claire stopped beside the elevator. How many locks between here and the street? Adrian stood beside her. 7. How many can I open? All of them. Claire placed the metal access card against the reader. The elevator doors opened. The ride down passed in silence. In the garage, engines waited beneath the concrete ceiling. Mason guided Claire toward the center vehicle. Adrian opened the rear door. Claire did not enter immediately. Once we reach the terminal, do not pull me behind you. Adrian looked at her. I will not. Do not make decisions for me because you are angry. I will try. That was almost honest. It was completely honest. Claire entered the vehicle. Adrian sat beside her. The convoy moved into the wet Chicago night. No rain fell now, but the streets still shone beneath the lights. Claire felt the turns through the seat and counted the minutes. Mason's voice came through the radio. Crow's men are active around the river. We have visual confirmation of 12 outside. Adrian answered. Inside unknown. Claire rested one hand on the cello case. The opening rhythm of Winter Nocturne moved silently beneath her thumb. 4 beats. A pause. 4 more. The convoy stopped beneath an overpass 3 blocks from the terminal. Everyone exited. Cold air swept off the river. Claire heard water striking stone and distant freight wheels moving across steel. Mason placed an earpiece in her hand. One touch opens the channel. Claire fitted it into place. Adrian stood in front of her. Once we enter that building, I may not be able to reach you. You are still using the wrong word. What word should I use? Claire held out her hand. Fight beside me. Adrian took it. Always. They moved toward the terminal. At the edge of the property, Mason's team separated into the darkness. Claire entered through the east service corridor with Adrian 2 steps behind her. The building smelled of rust oil, river water, and old concrete. A speaker crackled somewhere above. Victor's voice filled the terminal. Play the first movement. Claire stopped. Adrian's hand hovered near her back but did not touch. She opened the cello case. The first notes of Winter Nocturne rose into the vast building. Victor listened. His men shifted across the main floor. Claire counted them by breath boots and the soft movements of weapons against clothing. The final note faded. The emergency generator hummed beneath the floor. Claire touched her earpiece once. The power died. Every light vanished. Men shouted. Weapons rose. A freight train sounded in the distance. Claire folded her cane open. Her voice moved calmly through the dark. "You should have remembered, Victor." The terminal went still. "The dark belongs to me." For 1 second, no one inside the terminal moved. Then chaos broke open. A man shouted near the loading platform. Another fired toward Claire's voice. The shot struck a steel column and scattered sparks across the concrete. Claire had already moved. She lowered her body, followed the left wall, and counted 3 steps to the first support beam. Adrian fired twice behind her. 2 bodies hit the floor. Mason's voice came through her earpiece. "Tunnel team is inside." Claire touched the receiver once. North stairs. 2 men. A freight horn rolled across the river district. The sound covered Mason's team as they climbed from the abandoned rail passage. Claire heard a short struggle near the stairs. 1 grunt. A weapon falling. Then silence. Victor's men fired blindly across the terminal. The dark worked against them. They had spent their lives depending on sight, on muzzle flashes, on faces, on movement. Claire depended on rhythm. Boots on concrete, fabric brushing steel. A breath held too long behind a pillar. She turned toward the office corridor. Emily was somewhere beyond it. Claire crossed the open floor while gunfire struck the walls behind her. Adrian called her name. She did not stop. A man stepped from the right. His jacket shifted before his pistol rose. Claire drove the end of her cane into his wrist. The weapon fell. She struck his throat, swept his ankle, and let his own momentum carry him into the concrete. He did not rise. Claire moved on. Claire Adrian said through the earpiece, "You're right." She heard the warning and dropped. A bullet passed above her shoulder. Adrian fired once. The man behind her collapsed. Claire reached the office corridor. The air changed there. The ceiling was lower. Sound became tight and close. She touched the wall with her left hand and followed it. 1 door, open. Empty room. 2nd door, locked. A faint sound came from inside. Someone breathing through fabric. Emily. The breathing stopped. Claire placed her ear near the metal. 2 people were inside. Emily and a guard. The guard moved closer to the door. Claire stepped aside. The lock turned. A man reached through the opening and grabbed for her. She caught his sleeve and pulled him into the corridor. His shoulder struck the frame. Claire drove her knee into his stomach, then struck the side of his head with the cane. He went down against the wall. Claire entered the room. Emily. A muffled cry answered. Claire found her student tied to a metal chair. Tape covered her mouth. Her wrists were bound behind her. Claire cut the tape with the small blade concealed beneath her cane grip. Emily gasped. "Miss Bennett, listen to me." Claire sliced through the bindings. "When I touch your shoulder, follow the wall with your left hand. Do not run. Mason is outside." Emily clung to Claire's wrist. "I thought he was going to kill me. He still might try." Claire helped her stand. "You have to move now." Gunfire continued in the main terminal. The lights remained dead. Claire guided Emily into the corridor and touched her shoulder. "Go." Emily moved along the wall. Claire listened until Mason reached her. "I have her," he said through the earpiece. Claire released a breath she had not realized she was holding. Adrian's voice followed. "Claire, stay where you are." "No." "Crow is moving toward the central platform." "Then that is where I am going." A low emergency alarm sounded beneath the floor. The generator was trying to restart. Victor's men had found the manual controls. Red lights flickered once, then twice. The terminal filled with a dim crimson glow. Claire could not see it, but she heard the shift in every man around her. Their breathing changed. Their steps became bolder. Sight had returned to them, not enough to make them calm, enough to make them dangerous. Claire left the corridor and stepped onto the main floor. Bodies lay across the concrete. Some groaned, others remained still. Adrian stood near a support column with blood across one sleeve. Mason guarded the office corridor while Emily was taken toward the rail tunnel. Victor Crow waited on the raised platform. He was not alone. 3 men stood around him. One held a tablet. Another had a shotgun. The third watched Adrian. Victor's voice carried easily through the terminal. Samuel would be disappointed. Claire stopped at the base of the platform. "You did not know him well enough to disappoint him. I knew him better than you did." Adrian raised his pistol. Victor lifted one hand. The man with the shotgun aimed toward the tunnel where Emily had disappeared. "Fire," Victor said, "and the girl dies before she reaches the stairs." Mason's team went still. Claire heard Adrian's finger tighten against the trigger. "Do not," she said. Adrian lowered the pistol slightly. Victor smiled. "He listens to you. Only when I am right. You sound exactly like your father." Claire rested the tip of her cane against the concrete. Victor descended one step. "Samuel Bennett did not stumble into our world. He chose it. You forced him to hide your crimes. No, Samuel wanted access, to stop you, to become rich." Claire shook her head. "My father could have taken everything you had years before the crash. He planned to." The words traveled through the terminal. Adrian's breathing changed. Victor continued. "Samuel built private accounts outside both families. Money no Vale knew about. Money no Crow could trace. He intended to disappear with you." Claire listened carefully. Victor believed parts of what he said. That made the lie more dangerous. If he wanted to disappear, Claire said, "Why did he stay after you found him?" "Because Adrian's father threatened you." Adrian stepped forward. "My father abandoned Samuel. He did not threaten Claire." Victor laughed. "You were a boy standing outside locked doors. I know what he did." "No. You know what he admitted." Claire turned toward Adrian. The silence between them carried 13 years of unfinished truth. Adrian did not hide from it. "My father knew Samuel wanted out," he said. "He refused to release him until the accounts were returned." Claire tightened her hand around the cane. "You knew this. I learned it after the crash. And you did not tell me. I had no proof. You promised no more half-truths. I should have told you." Victor spread his hands. "And yet you stand beside him." Claire faced Victor again. "I stand where I choose. Your father believed he had choices too. He did. And I corrected him." The cold certainty in Victor's voice brought the winter road back. Metal screaming, her father's breath failing, a stranger standing outside a hospital curtain. Poor child. Her father made many mistakes. Claire raised her chin. "You came to the hospital." Victor paused. "You stood outside my room and asked an officer whether I remembered anything." Adrian's gun rose again. Victor glanced toward him. "I was concerned. You wanted to know whether the crash had erased the composition." Victor looked at Claire for a long moment. "You did remember. Every note." The man holding the tablet stepped closer to Victor. "Then play." Claire opened her cello case. Adrian moved toward her. She lifted one hand. He stopped. Claire removed the cello and set the end pin against the concrete. Victor watched. "The complete final movement," he said. "And Emily walks out." "She already has." Mason's voice came through Claire's earpiece. "Emily is in the tunnel." Victor heard nothing. Claire positioned the bow. "If you stop playing," Victor said, "my men fire. If your men fire, you never reach the reserve." Victor nodded toward the man with the tablet. "Begin." Claire drew the bow across the strings. Winter Nocturne rose into the terminal. The melody carried grief first, then structure. Numbers moved beneath the sound. The tablet operator entered each translated sequence as Victor's financial advisor whispered instructions. Claire played the first authorization phrase. The screen unlocked. Victor stepped closer. The hidden reserve appeared. More than $100 million rested across accounts Samuel had buried 13 years earlier. Victor laughed softly. Adrian watched Claire. Mason's team waited. The music continued. The second passage changed the transfer route. Victor's advisor frowned. "The account is moving," where Victor demanded. "Multiple destinations." "Stop it." "I cannot." Victor looked at Claire. "What did you do?" She continued playing. Across the world, the reserve divided. Payments moved into protected trusts. Families who had lost fathers, mothers, children, and homes to the Crow organization received accounts that could not be traced back to the terminal. At the same time, Samuel's records transmitted to journalists, federal investigators, and every captain Victor had cheated. Names appeared. Judges, officers, contractors, union leaders, Vale captains, Crow soldiers. Victor's advisor stared at the tablet. "The files are public." Victor seized the device. The screen changed again. His remaining accounts froze. The final note faded. Claire lowered the bow. Victor's voice shook for the first time. "What did you do?" "I finished my father's composition." He hurled the tablet across the platform. It shattered against a steel rail. The shotgun rose. Adrian fired first. The shotgun man fell backward. Mason's team opened fire. The terminal erupted. Claire dropped behind the cello case. Victor's remaining guards fired toward Adrian. One bullet struck the column beside him. Another hit the floor near Claire's hand. She heard Victor running down the metal stairs. His shoes struck each step hard. He was coming for her. Claire set the cello aside and reached for her cane. Victor struck before she could stand. His shoulder drove into her chest. They hit the concrete together. The cane slid away. Victor grabbed her by the throat and pulled her upright. A knife touched the skin beneath her jaw. "Drop the gun," he shouted. Gunfire stopped. Adrian stood several yards away. Claire heard the rage in his breathing. Victor dragged her backward. "Your father begged me to spare you." Claire felt the edge of the blade. "No. He promised me everything. No. He died calling your name." Claire listened beyond the lie. Victor's right leg dragged slightly. A gunshot had grazed him during the fight. His grip tightened whenever Adrian moved. His knife hand remained steady, but his weight leaned too far left. Claire spoke quietly. "My father did not beg." Victor pressed the knife closer. "You were unconscious. I heard him." "What?" "He did not beg you to spare me." Claire's hand moved slowly toward the lower section of her cane lying beside her shoe. "He warned you." She kicked Victor's injured leg. His balance broke. Claire dropped beneath his knife arm. The blade cut across her shoulder instead of her throat. She seized the cane, turned, and drove the handle into his knee. Victor fell. Claire pressed the biometric strip. The titanium blade locked into place. Victor reached for a pistol at his back. Adrian had a clear shot. He hesitated. Claire stood too close. Victor's hand closed around the weapon. Claire heard leather strain. Metal cleared the holster. She shifted aside. Adrian fired once. The bullet struck Victor in the chest. He fell against the bottom stair. The pistol slid from his hand. Silence spread through the terminal. Claire remained standing over him. Victor struggled for breath. His fingers moved weakly against the concrete. "You think Vale will make you free?" he whispered. Claire retracted the blade. "No man makes me free. Victor tried to laugh. Only blood came. His breathing stopped. Adrian lowered his weapon. Claire listened for movement from Victor. There was none. Mason approached with 2 guards. The remaining men surrendered. Claire touched the cut on her shoulder. Adrian reached her. His hands hovered near her arms. He did not touch until she nodded. Then he examined the wound. "It is shallow," she said. "He had a knife at your throat. And now he does not." Adrian's voice broke beneath his control. "You could have died. So could you. That answer has not improved." Claire lifted one hand and found his face. Blood marked his cheek. "Emily's safe." "Mason." "I am standing right here," Mason said. Claire turned toward his voice. "You sound disappointed. I am deciding whether either of you understands the meaning of caution." Adrian kept one hand around Claire's wrist. "Have the files reached the authorities?" Mason checked his phone. "Yes. Crow's accounts are gone. His captains are already calling each other. 2 police commanders left the city. And the Vale records?" Claire asked. "Released with the rest." Adrian did not flinch. Mason looked toward him. "Several of our contracts are finished." "Good. We may lose half the organization. Then half of it was never ours." Claire listened to Adrian's answer. No hesitation. No regret disguised as strategy. Victor's empire had ended on the terminal floor. The truth about the Vale family had left with it. Adrian placed his coat around Claire's shoulders. This time he did not guide her. He walked beside her. Weeks passed before Chicago understood what had happened. Victor Crow's organization did not collapse in one dramatic explosion. It broke apart in rooms. Captains discovered their private accounts were empty. Officers learned their payment records had reached federal investigators. Judges resigned. Contractors disappeared. Men who had sworn loyalty to Victor began accusing one another of theft. The Crow name became dangerous to carry. Adrian's organization suffered too. Old allies turned against him when Samuel's files exposed their crimes. Several captains demanded Claire surrender control of the remaining financial network. Adrian called them to a meeting in the Gold Coast penthouse. Claire sat at the end of the long dining table with her cane resting beside her chair. Mason stood behind her. Adrian remained near the windows. One captain named Robert Hale struck the table with his fist. "We lost 12 contracts because of her." Claire turned toward his voice. "You lost 12 contracts because they depended on bribery. This is Vale business. Samuel Bennett built the accounts. Samuel is dead." Claire folded her hands. "Which is why you assumed no one could challenge you." Hale looked toward Adrian. "She is a musician." Adrian's voice remained calm. "She destroyed Victor Crow with 12 minutes of music." No one spoke. Claire leaned back. "Would you like an encore?" Hale left the meeting before it ended. By the following morning, he had taken 3 captains with him. Adrian let them go. Within a month, all 4 asked to return. Claire refused. The new structure was smaller. It was also harder to corrupt. No trafficking, no attacks on families, no forced labor, no protection money collected from neighborhood stores. Every captain became responsible for the money moved under his name. Mason took control of the legitimate companies. Claire rebuilt the financial system from the foundation. Adrian stopped calling it his empire. In meetings, he called it theirs. Claire did not remain in the penthouse. Her apartment was repaired, though the old piano could not be saved. Adrian offered to replace it. Claire declined. She returned to teaching at the conservatory. Emily came back after several weeks and refused to quit. The first time Claire entered her classroom again, every student stood in silence. She placed her cello beside the chair. "You are wasting rehearsal time," she said. The room returned to life. Adrian assigned guards only after Claire approved them. She knew their names. She set their hours. No one entered her apartment without permission. The metal access card to Adrian's building remained in her coat pocket. She used it when she chose. 3 months after the terminal, Claire stood backstage at the Chicago Cultural Center. Winter Nocturne rested beneath her fingers. She had rewritten the final movement. The financial code was gone. Samuel's numbers had become harmony. His warnings had become music. The hall quieted. Claire walked onto the stage. Applause rose around her. She placed the cello between her knees and listened. Her students occupied the front rows. Mason sat near the aisle. Adrian stood in the rear balcony. He had arrived before the first note. For once, he did not hide. Claire raised the bow. Winter Nocturne began. The opening still carried the rhythm Samuel had taught her. 4 notes. A rest. 4 more. But the piece no longer belonged to a dead accountant, a Mafia king, or a hidden reserve. It belonged to Claire. When the final note faded, the audience stood. Adrian remained until the lights came up. Backstage, Claire entered an empty corridor and heard his steps behind her. "You were late," she said. "The entire city was waiting outside. That has never stopped you before." He stopped in front of her. "You knew I was there. You still wear the same cologne." Adrian touched the crescent scar beneath her ear. His voice carried the same quiet intensity it had in the Halcyon Hotel. "Found you." Claire smiled. She placed one hand against his chest and pulled him closer. "No, Adrian." Her lips brushed his. "I found you." Outside, snow began to fall across Chicago. The city still feared Adrian Vale. It still whispered his name behind locked doors. But inside the rooms where power truly moved, everyone understood the new order. Adrian commanded men. Claire commanded the future.